When you think of Elon Musk, you probably think of success, right? Billionaire, rockets, electric cars. But that's not really the most interesting part of his story. The real story, the one we're diving into today, is about the risks. It's about how all of it was a series of giant, monumental bets that came unbelievably close to total failure. Let's get into it.
So let's start with a little thought experiment. Imagine, just for a second, that you suddenly come into a life-changing amount of money. What's the first thing you do? Buy an island? Travel the world? Maybe just never work again? Well, Elon Musk had that exact choice. And what he did was, let's just say it was a little different. Okay, let's put a real number on it. After he co-founded and sold PayPal, Musk's personal take was about $180 million. Now, for most of us, that's it. That's the end of the story. You won the game. For him, though, it was just the starting cash. He took every single dollar of that fortune and went all in. He pushed all of his chips into two of the hardest, most expensive, and most likely to fail industries you could possibly imagine: space travel and electric cars. He didn't just invest a little here and there. He bet the entire farm. And you want to know how that bet went at first? Oh, it was a disaster. His new company, SpaceX, tried to launch its first rocket, and it blew up. They built another one, tried again, it also blew up. The third time, it failed so badly, it took a bunch of NASA's satellites with it. His fortune was literally going up in flames. So that's the real question, isn't it? How does a guy fail that publicly, lose that much money, and somehow still end up as one of the richest people on the planet? Well, the simple answer, and the entire point of this story, is that it all came down to one single event: the fourth rocket. It didn't fail. But to even understand how he got a fourth chance, we got to go back.
So where does this kind of mindset even come from? A lot of people think Musk was just born into some massive fortune, but the truth is pretty different. He really started out as an outsider, a kid who kind of had to teach himself how to win.
He was bullied pretty badly as a kid, so he just escaped into books and computers. He became completely obsessed with learning, so much so that he taught himself to code and sold his first video game when he was just 12. And it was that same obsessive drive that eventually led him to co-found what became PayPal, which, as we know, is where he got that initial $180 million war chest.
And this right here, this is the turning point. This is where a guy who just made a bunch of money in software decides he's going to do something that entire countries have trouble with. And it all started with a goal that was just out there.
He decided that his whole mission in life was to make humanity a multiplanetary species by building a colony on Mars. I mean, think about that. Most people are planning their next vacation, and this guy is working on an escape plan for the entire human race. And step one was pretty straightforward. He needed to get his hands on a rocket.
And this is where you really see the audacity of it all. He actually flew to Russia to try and buy some old, refurbished intercontinental ballistic missiles to shoot at Mars. The Russian space officials, they basically laughed him out of the building. To them, he was just some rich internet guy who was way, way out of his league. But that rejection, that was the trigger. Instead of just giving up, his reaction on the plane ride back was incredibly simple. If they won't sell me a rocket, fine, I'll figure out how to build one myself. And that one moment of pure defiance is what led directly to SpaceX being created.
Okay, let's fast forward to 2008. This is really the climax of the whole story. This is the year where absolutely everything that could go wrong did. It was just this perfect storm of failure that brought both of his companies right to the edge of disappearing forever. I mean, just picture this chaos. The entire world's economy is in a free fall, so getting any more investment is impossible. His car company, Tesla, is burning through cash and is literally weeks away from going bankrupt. And then, on top of all that, in August, his third SpaceX rocket blows up. He was broke, he was going through a messy divorce, and the media was calling him a total failure. So why didn't he just pack it in? Because he scraped together just enough money and just enough parts for one more shot. Just one. If this next rocket failed, that was it. SpaceX would be done, and Tesla would die with it. It was literally all or nothing. The entire future of his companies, his fortune, his vision, it was all riding on this single launch, the Falcon 1 Flight 4. This wasn't just another test. It was the do-or-die final shot. And, against all odds, after 3 straight catastrophic failures,
The fourth flight made it. It worked. It became the very first privately funded liquid fuel rocket to ever reach Earth's orbit.
And this is where the gamble just paid off in the biggest way imaginable. That one success changed the entire game. Almost immediately, NASA, who had been watching this whole drama unfold, awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. Just like that, the company was saved.
So, with SpaceX now on solid ground, Musk could turn his focus back to his other insane bet, Tesla. And just like with rockets, he wasn't just trying to make an electric car, he wanted to completely change how we even think about them. Don't forget, Tesla was also on life support in 2008, fighting through production problems and massive costs. The risk was just as huge, but the challenge was different. It wasn't about getting to orbit, it was about winning over hearts and minds. You gotta remember what electric cars were like before Tesla. They were seen as these slow, kind of dorky, low-range compromises. Basically glorified golf carts. Musk's whole strategy was to make an electric car that wasn't just better for the planet, but was simply a better car. Something fast, beautiful, with a long range, something you actually wanted. It was basically the iPhone on wheels.
And that's really the key to understanding it all. The product wasn't just the car itself. The real product was the vision. He was selling people on the feeling of being part of what's next. And that's what created this brand that became so much more than just another car company.
So, as we wrap this up, what are the big takeaways from this absolutely wild story of risk and reward? And what's the one big question that still follows him around today?
Well, there are some pretty clear lessons here. It shows the power of taking huge but calculated risks. Musk wasn't just throwing dice. He would break problems down to their most basic parts. He'd ask questions like, what are rockets actually made of? And how much would those materials cost if I just bought them myself? He challenged everything. And maybe most importantly, his story shows that sometimes everything really does come down to a single moment, a single decision.
And that brings us to the final question. After seeing just how close he came to losing it all, how much of his success rested on that one rocket not blowing up? What do you think? Is this the story of a once-in-a-generation genius executing a brilliant plan? Or is it the story of an incredibly lucky gambler who put everything on black and just happened to win?
You know, maybe the answer is that he's a bit of both. But the thing we have to remember is this story isn't over. With his plans for AI, brain implants, and that city on Mars, the bets are only getting bigger. The next huge gamble, the next big rocket,